Hi, everybody. Christine Williams here. I'm the owner of Accredited Real Estate Institute. So I'm a licensed real estate instructor in the state of Florida. I also teach some classes for the National Association of Realtors. Been a realtor member since 1999. So I do stay on top of trends involving new laws, fair housing, market statistics, and membership statistics. So that's what we're going to talk for just a minute. You guys, if you're on Facebook often, you may have seen trending over the past few days the statistic that 60,000 realtors across the country have gotten out of the business. Year to date, 2023, we're about halfway in. This is late June as we speak. And that statistic came from an article, and the resource is Axios, A-X-I-O-S. And the author of the article is, his name is Nathan Boney. And the name of the article, the title, if you want to look it up, is Realtor Boom Ends as Housing Market Slumps. But before we get into the statistics of the article and the information provided, let's talk about that. Statistically and historically, 80% of new licensees get out of the real estate industry across the country within the first 2 years. That's the thing. So there's a lot of misconceptions about how we get paid, a lot of misconceptions about how the business is run. People think that you're still an employee working under a broker. They give you leads, they help provide money. None of that is true. There are so many different business models for different brokerages, nationally, independent, whatever, on how you can get paid. So we're not going to dive into those. There are ways to be salaried. However, most realtors across the country, whether you work for a national franchise or an independent brokerage that's local or regional, most of us are independent contractors considered self-employed by the IRS, which means we pay both the employee and the employer federal taxes. So it's double what other people would pay. So maybe you came from a corporate job, your tax rate will be double what you were used to paying. So never mind all that, let's talk about membership. So again, as I just said, typically 80% of new licensees get out of the business within the first 2 years, period. So what is going on in the past 6 months that it's suddenly a game changer or a topic of conversation, if that's just the norm? So what has happened is 60,000 is significant in 6 months, obviously, right? And what's going on is what they're also predicting, the market is shifting, as we say. Some markets they are seeing, or we are seeing, price drops, as they say, seeing softening, as they say. What a lot of us are seeing is a normalization. Prices are going up and up and up and up at crazy values. You cannot maintain that. That's not normal. Real estate is supposed to be a long-term hold, a long-term investment. And for many, many years, the rate of return is 5 to 7%. It's a safe long-term investment, generally speaking. It's contingent on a lot of factors: the national economy, the world economy, what's going on with wars and that type stuff. So there's a lot of things that play into the value of a home, right? Not just what's going on in your personal life. So seeing appreciation and values increase of, 10, 15, 20%, year after year after year is not normal, and that can't maintain. That's just it. You can't do it. And it also prices people out of the market because your income doesn't go up to match the cost of the home, right? So let's get back to, again, the statistics on 60,000 people getting out of the business. But so we're going to take a look at what that really means. While it sounds significant, and by the way, this is something to note, NAR had their mid-year meetings in July, like they always do. I say July, they're having them again. So they had some other meetings earlier this year, as a matter of fact. Maybe it was May. And they decided that they're going to raise our dues by 4%, which doesn't sound significant, but here's the catch. They just raised our dues for the first time in many, many years last year by $45. And that was to go towards the marketing expenses for a national marketing campaign. Now, personally, I don't see any value in that because I've never had anybody call me say, oh my gosh, I just saw the realtor ad on TV, so I'm calling you. But in any event, that's what happens when you have to pay an association for your dues. They get to decide what your dues cost. So they're going up again this November by 4%, which is the first time I recall them specifically voting to go up by a certain percentage. Then what's also notable is beginning next year, so in 2024 for 2025 renewals, membership dues will be based on the CPI, Consumer Price Index, and inflation. So they will fluctuate. That's very concerning for me personally, as somebody who's used to budgeting and knowing what I need to pay. But in any event, that's what's going to happen. So the reason they're going ahead and putting in these price increases for membership is because they're predicting that even though we've already lost supposedly 60,000 people year to date for membership, that by the end of the year, membership will drop 15% nationwide. So they need to make up that revenue. Our dues pay for their salaries in Chicago, right? And marketing and the programs and whatnot. So let's take a look at what all that means. So according to this Axios article that I first referenced, the number of realtors in March 2020, when the world shut down, people lost their jobs and they're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I need to, I can't work in an office right now. So I need to do something from home, so to speak. So a lot of people got their licenses. So membership in March of 2020 was 1.372 million. That's a lot of licensees, folks. And then the market, instead of downshifting, as we recall, we thought the market was going to crash. That's what the news told us, right? It actually went boom. We had a housing boom in 2021, multiple offers, people going 40, 60, $100,000 over asking price, 40 competitive offers. Crazy stuff was going on like I've never seen in my 24 years of real estate. So we went from 1.372 to the following year, March 2021, it bumped up to 1.463 million realtors across the country. And then that trend continued so that in March 2022, a year later, last year, 1.5 million. So that is, historically, that's the most number of members we've had. So anytime, again, people see that the values and the housing market seems to be booming, then suddenly people think it's a quick cash business, right? Not so. It takes a lot to get involved in real estate, whether it's a boom year or a bust year or just an average year. A new agent, we always tell them as real estate instructors, you need to have 8 to 12 months of income saved up. It's going to take you time for most people to get your first closing. You don't just go out there and say, hey, I'm a realtor, come hire me, because now you're competing against the other 9,000 or 12,000 people in your market who've been doing it for years, who've gone to high school or college with 18 other realtors. So there's a lot of competition on the floor. So here's what happened. Sales of existing single family homes fell 42% from January 2021 to April 2023. So in 2 years, they fell 42%. That's a chunk-a-monk. So that means less transactions. That means less income, and it also means less people able to support themselves from real estate. So median prices dropped, and then of course we have interest rates that are going up. So, but here's the flip side to think about. The number of real estate agents is still at a historical high. So that 1.3 million or whatever we've got right now is still one of the highest we've ever had on record. So then let's move on to the 2022 member profile. So this isn't 2023, so we're going back a little bit. The 2023 membership profile will be released probably like November, December of this year. So, but let's take a look at what all this means anyway, as far as, is this 60,000 people dropping out of the business, is this cause for alarm? Probably not, based on all the statistics right here. So I'm going to share this with you. So think about this. First of all, I talked about independent contractor versus employees. So independent contractors, the classification for realtors, and they go by different classifications depending on how long you've been in the business. But for all realtors, 87% are classified as independent contractor. You're self-employed, commission sales, you only get paid if you get a transaction to the table. So that's how most people are feeding themselves. They have to go and create the business, find the buyers, find the listings, market the listings to the buyers, and then hopefully it gets to the closing table. And I'm going to tell you, they don't all do. I'm currently working with one that was supposed to close 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago. Then it was supposed to close last week, and here we are up in the air again. They don't all make it to the closing table, no matter how many hours you put in. I took the listing, gosh, 2 or 3 months ago. So 2 or 3 months of work might end up in a zero paycheck. That's how that works. But in any event, in regards to income, it said back then, interestingly enough, late 2022, all realtors were asked how many thought that they would remain active as a real estate agent during the next 2 years. So that is this year and perhaps through 2024. Back then, 79% said they were very certain. I'd be interested to see that number this coming fall. Again, 87% were independent contractors. But listen to this. Real estate is the primary source of the income for the household. All realtors that were surveyed on that, the answer is 47%. Less than half rely on real estate to support their income, their household income. And then it gets break down to if agents that have been licensed for 2 years or less, that goes to 30%. Only 30% are relying on real estate as a way to support themselves or their families. And then it goes to if they've been in the business 10 years or less, then it's 39%. So it ranges between 30 to 59%. What's interesting to note is realtors who've been in the business 16 years or longer, that has the highest percentage of those relying on real estate for their full-time income, 59%. It makes sense. If you have created a sustainable business and you run your real estate business like a CEO, like you're self-employed, then you're most likely to be able to use real estate as your full-time income. So this whole 60,000 people dropping off out of the industry is normal. First of all, there's not enough transactions to sustain everybody getting a paycheck. It's just not there. So for example, if there were only 300 transactions that closed in May and there's 9,000 realtors in your area, and I'm in Southwest Florida, so that's a fact. The number of transactions, I don't remember. But let's just say there were 300 closings and 9,000 realtors. That's a whole lot of people that didn't get a paycheck for the month of May. But let's go back to, again, real estate as a primary source of income for the household ranges from 30 to 59%. So regardless of what's going on with membership dropping, most people do not use real estate as their reliable income resource to feed their families. So I just kind of want to clarify what's going on here. Yes, membership is dropping, and frankly, it needs to. There's a lot of people that have gotten in the industry in the last 2 to 3 years. They have no clue what they're doing, and it is making for scary transactions for the rest of us that take it seriously. So I'm not discouraging anybody from getting into real estate. I get paid if people want to take real estate classes. So let's just be very frank about that. However, I don't want people getting in this if they think it's a get rich quick scheme or it's like the next scratch off lottery ticket. That's not how this business works. If you're going to get into real estate, I want you to invest in education, obviously, not just through me, but there's multiple ways to get educated in real estate. You're going to have to go take a lot of classes after you get licensed. That license that issued by your state, whatever state that is, means nothing other than you can legally go practice real estate. It doesn't give you the tools, doesn't give you the experience. So if you're going to get into real estate, know that it's going to be a hard road. Know that you're probably going to need a mentor or a coach or work on a team to get started. Go take every class possible. Do not practice on buyers and sellers. You're going to need to practice writing contracts, writing listing agreements, all types of stuff before you ever go and work with the public. Otherwise, you are risking legal liability for yourself, for your buyer, for the seller, for your broker, and for everybody involved. So just know that, yes, 60,000 sounds like an astounding number when we're seeing things on social media, but that doesn't really provide the whole picture. So if you have any questions or concerns, or gosh, you want to get your real estate license or you need your CEs before the September renewal, again, I'm Christine Williams, owner of Accredited Real Estate Institute here in Southwest Florida, but I can help you if you need any CE credits for Florida, and I can be reached at 941-287-5112. And if you would like for me to email you any of this information, please text me your email address and I'll be happy to send it over. Until next time.